Heartbreak? You mean that psycho that was trending all month? I mean, as much as anyone, I guess. I haven't been getting out much, but I'm sure everybody's on edge. A guy like that out there. He shoots people. Through the heart, right? The police have kept the victim's appearances far away from any upstanding news sources. So unless he was already following the murders, Carlos wouldn't notice any resemblance to his girlfriend. I mean, she was shot in the chest, but that doesn't mean anything, does it? If he's this slow in the uptake, it's going to be a real shock when those officers walk in here and accuse him of being a serial killer. I'll just have to squash that theory as quickly and definitively as possible. Four AM, June 5th, 2086. I didn't realize you could smoke in here. Technically, I can smoke wherever I want. For a fee. I guess so. Nervous? Don't be. I'm the one who's on the clock. Right. I'm sure this isn't your first time doing this. No, of course not. It will be my first homicide defense, though. Oh. Why does everyone always think the first time's so goddamn important? Hey, cheer up. I've got relevant experience in other areas. Oh. And, what areas are those? You ever gamble, Carlos? No, ma'am, I never go anywhere near loot boxes. Won't touch the stuff. I meant more like playing cards. Oh. Well then, no to that too. I've actually got pretty terrible luck. Could have fooled me. Well, what I do is like poker, Carlos. Poker's nice because even if you're dealt nothing but crap all night long, you can still win. Which makes things pretty fun. Okay, so, do you have a good poker face? I like to think so. And are you lucky? Only when the stakes are high. And, in this metaphor, we're playing poker. And the state's the dealer? If only. No, the state's more like the house. You mean like the house always wins? Yes. They're very good at it. Winning, I mean. That's why they're up there, and we're down here. That's why they're the house. So what do? We play the cards we're dealt as best we can, win more hands than we lose. Keep it up and eventually someone will come over and tap the dealer on the shoulder and whisper something in their ear. And then we'll be politely asked to leave. That doesn't sound very triumphant. The house always wins. So our definition of victory is more like, don't lose. Thanks, Morgan. But I guess I was more asking, like, what should I say? Just leave all the talking to me. So that's the strategy. What's up? You know there's a saying about gamblers with strategies. Yo. Ready to confess yet? Because I already woke up the DA. Already? She must be new. District attorneys always have final say on whether or not a case is brought to trial. Only fair since they're the ones who end up having actually proved the damn thing. Most of them prefer simple guilty pleas over long, protracted trials. And they all dislike having their time wasted. Unfortunately, then you'll have to call them back. Because my client is not guilty. And frankly, I'm not even sure you have enough to hold him here. Right. What she said. You got a weird sense of humor, counselor. Different generations, I guess. For my time kind of thing. I'm very serious when it comes to defending a man's innocence, detective. Counselor, we have your client's written confession. His written confession. Let's start there. Okay, well, we'll be happy to. The thrust of every argument starts with the facts. What's already known and agreed upon. Public knowledge for every player at the table. It's pretty simple, counselor. Real paint by number stuff. See, we found a note at his apartment with his fingerprints on it, apologizing for how he hurt them all so bad. Now, how are you planning on spending that? Those are the facts. But I've been building up my hand all night. And now I've got the weapons to answer anything they try and throw at me. Well, my client did write that note, and it was an apology. But not for murder. He was apologizing for... He was simply apologizing for this. The hell is that? I found myself asking the exact same question. What are we looking at here? Something from the crime scene? This diagram of the room. It's created from data you captured, right? Pure non-GMO augmented reality crime scene data, yeah. What's non-GMO? Not much these days. Notice anything out of place? Yeah, the whole room's full of busted shit. It's the scene of a murder. Full of busted shit for sure. But I was more referring to the unidentified ceramic debris found on the western side of the room. The hell is that? Ceramic debris, huh? Must be from the vase that got tossed. Actually, that's not possible. No? Because that vase wasn't damaged. Not possible for the debris to come from the vase. Because that vase is still pristine. How is that possible? The lady at the garage sale told me it was so old and delicate. Damn it, the one time I try and thrift shop on my own. Well, so what? What does it even matter? If the vase doesn't have a scratch on it, then debris must have come from somewhere else. That debris is what my client wrote that apology over. You're saying that confession was his apology for not vacuuming? I am, because that pile of rubble is all that remains of the victim's collection of fidget tubbies. What he said. Mr. Flat broke the victim's ceramic figures by accident. And this impassioned note to self was just his attempt at scripting out an apology. Can you prove that? We're taking this seriously? As much as I wish we weren't. We're all in agreement that my client wrote that note. And we can all plainly see there's ceramic debris at the crime scene. Now, since it couldn't have come from the base, it must have come from the collectibles. Simple, right? The hell are you on about? The entire room was trashed, as the arcs clearly shows. Those fidget tubbies must have got pulverized during the struggle too. You really gonna claim he sat down to write an apology for breaking her toys after gunning her down? Not a bad train of thought, but I can do better. No, those collectibles were destroyed much earlier than that, and there's proof. Just take a closer look at the rental you took into custody. Huh? One swipe of your finger should show exactly how devastating it was to the fickle buddy ecosystem. It's fidget tubbies. Whatever. You did take it into custody. I'm sure your techs found ceramic debris on it, yes? Now that you mention it. Fine, whatever. He broke them with his arm. While he was killing her. Happy? Overjoyed, because even a cheap arm's got an operating system that logged the last time it was worn, right? Right. See, I happened to spot a footnote on a lab report. It said that rental had been used since the AM. Whose side are you on, old man? It's gotten pretty late, sunshine. Just trying to save us all some time where I can. Well, thank you for your service. Well, thank you for your service. Are you seriously buying this crap? Just look at how scrawled, how panicked that note is. You expect me to believe that he was that upset over our fidget tubby collection? One that hasn't even been graded? Said aside Detective Ray's surprising depth of knowledge when it comes to collectibles. You're correct. They held no real monetary value. It would be odd for crawlers to be so shaken over their loss. But so what? So what? After all, that's not panic you're seeing on that page. No, the only reason that note looks the way it does is because Carlos is right-handed. Because Carlos is right-handed. Yes, I am. Did they not know that? Shouldn't that be on my permanent record or something? So the reason why that note looks like a silent wall scribbles is just because he had to use his left hand to write it. I tend to think better writing than typing. And I need to get used to using my left anyway. I just thought it'd be good practice. Taking that into account alongside the ceramics, your slam dunk confession is looking about as watertight as a fishnet. Okay, fine. Forget about the confession. Congratulations, counselor. You've established that your client's remorseless. Let's get back to the reality of the situation. Here are the facts. We found your client at the scene of the crime, wearing a coat covered in the victim's blood, right next to a big old goddamn gun that just so happened to have his fingerprints on it. That's right, that coat is... What, you gonna claim it's not his, that he was actually wearing an extra small? She's trying to bait me in her typical low-key fashion. She must have something. No sense playing into it. Something you'd like to ask me, detective? I'm just curious. What'll it be next? You gonna tell me he actually wears an extra small? Hey, Carlos, do you? No. Yeah, sure there's no evil tin you forgot to mention? No, I'm afraid not. Not even gonna go for a mysterious third party at the scene of the crime. To prove his innocence, I'll need to get there eventually. But going there now without hard evidence. Quite confident that my client isn't guilty, so there must have been a third individual at some point. That's cute. Only problem is, the arcs show plain say there's no evidence of anyone but Carlos being there that night. So keep dreaming. It was obvious she had something there. I wasn't gonna win that hand either way. But that's no reason for me to play her punching bag. We're not contesting any of that, Detective. My client freely admits to holding that gun. He picked it up in confusion after coming home to find a brutal crime scene. Which was not smart. Hey. But not illegal either. And that's all? He had her blood all over his clothes. Yes, he did. Right. Do you have those clothes on hand, by the way? Lab finished with them a while ago. What are you getting at? It'll be easier to just show you. Would you mind getting them for me? You know what? Sure, I could use the fresh air. Stinks of bullshit in here anyway. Here I thought the room smelled like... Psst, Morgan. What are you doing? My coat's covered in her blood, I remember that much. So doesn't that make me look really bad? Just relax, Carlos. I'm pretty sure that's impossible. You're innocent. And that means that having more evidence will always help you, not hurt you. Really? Really? Not really. Plenty of innocent people in prison. People with bad luck. Or bad lawyers. People shouldn't count on the truth to come out easy. More often than not, it takes coaxing. Hey Fungus, how are you? It's nice to see you. How you doing, Fungus? What was that it reminded me of? Alright, here it is. One bloodstained jacket fresh from the lab. So what's your angle? You gonna tell us this is actually just hot sauce? No. That would be silly. She actually thought it over. So what the hell was your point? Hey. Sorry, you just got thrown off by the turn of good fortune. What good fortune? You should thank the detective for bringing you your jacket, Carlos. She's just proven your innocence. My client was arrested wearing this coat. He would have been wearing it at the time of the murder. It has the victim's blood on it, who we know died when she was shot in the heart. By a gun that happens to be an old world free-tagging firearm. And so this coat proves he couldn't have been the shooter. Is there a gas leak in here? In what world does that make any sense? Sense happens to be the key here. I just need to draw their attention to what they can. Just tell me what you feel. I feel like I'm losing brain cells here. Shit. Were you hoping I just rubbed the blood stain off for you? Gonna have to rethink this is not the kind of difference you could tell with just your fingers. Just do me one favor, detective. Tell me what you smell. I don't smell anything except dried blood. Exactly. The coat smells like blood, but it doesn't smell of cigarette. That's what I've been smelling. Yes, Detective London. I was smoking earlier. Could you rejoin the conversation? I've been listening. You wanted me to smell the jacket. If you would. Let's see. Huh. No gunpowder. What? What about gunpowder? Oh, don't blame yourself for not noticing. This was before your time. You can't be more than a few days older than me. But not before your partners, it seems. See? Gunpowder's weak by today's standards, but it's still volatile stuff. Hard to store, prone to misfiring. And when it goes bang, it leaves behind an awful lot of evidence. What the hell is she talking about, London? Modern firearms like the ones we carry use electricity, magnetism, even air pressure or sound waves. They've got more accuracy, more firepower, less recoil, less noise, and they don't leave behind any residue. Gunpowder residue. You talked my ear off about how difficult it is tracking down a gun that doesn't leave digital traces. But a revolver like this one? It'd leave gunpowder on the skin of whoever fired it for days. So then his coat. If you don't trust your noses, you can check the lab reports. I think if they had found any gunpowder on my client or his clothes, they would have taken the time to highlight it. Well, whatever. That just means he washed it off after shooting or he changed his clothes. It's not impossible, but it would be pretty pointless. Huh? His jacket and his left hand were blood-soaked when your officers found him. Would he really go through all the effort to get rid of something as subtle as gunpowder residue? Just to get the victim's blood all over himself afterwards? In light of these details, I'd like to formally request that you reconsider the charges Mr. Flatt is facing as soon as possible. Whoa. They're faltering now. Should topple over at any moment. The letter was mostly icing on the cake for them. But that gun is all they had to link to Carlos to any of the shootings. So if it looks like he never actually fired the gun, I'll admit things were a little dicey there at times. But once I was able to grasp the situation, smaller pieces fell into place easily enough. Not my cleanest work by far, but overall I'd say. Did she get a message? Wait, did they actually manage to find it? Something you'd like to share, Detective Reyes? You're good. Twisting the truth in the knots, making the facts work for you. Thanks. But your luck just ran out. Because the net scrubbers found a cam active at the exact moment of the shooting, and right now, I'm staring at a photo of the killer. Wanna bet? Photo of the shooter? If she had that, we wouldn't still be talking. I doubt she's just pulling this out of her house. She's got something from the scrubbers. That's a bold bluff for this late in the game, Detective. Especially when we both know there was an optics blackout during the shooting. Well, that's just it. This isn't from optics. Should have figured she wouldn't make a claim that bold without something to back it up. Party's over, counselor. Feast your eyes on this. Well. Okay, the quality is lacking. And yet there it is. They managed to find a quarter needle of evidence in a whole city block of haystacks. What are the goddamn chances? No, but the scale their tools operate on. Guess the chances are, as always, in their favor. Alright, this isn't good, but it's a far cry from the worst case scenario I envision. You could even say I got lucky, which means the stakes are, well, it's a little bit blurry. Don't look at me, I didn't take the damn thing. Technically, no one took it. Looks like at the time of the shooting, a neighbor was on their phone. probably venting about how crazy the couple across the way was acting. But if their phone was on, its camera would be on, and so we managed to get this shot through the window. Where to begin? Far away, unfocused, ultra low resolution, zoomed in, blurred, color shifted, and so compressed it looks like it's from another century. There are tools that can enhance this image any further, and I could count the pixels on one hand, and you could kiss its immiscibility in court goodbye. You can't honestly claim that you can identify my client from this image, and there's no way in hell you could get this past a judge. Yeah, you're probably right, we couldn't. But I think I know a DA that could. Either way, it doesn't seem like your client's leaving this police station anytime soon. That photo. What the hell is happening to me? Think I know a DA that could? Don't be so modest, old man. We have photo evidence of a left-handed shooter standing in the hallway at the same time the whole neighborhood heard a gunshot. And who do we know had their left hand fingerprints all over that gun? You're referring to my client. You think? We've established he wasn't wearing his modded arm at all tonight, so he must have shot with his left. Yes, and we've also established that he's weak in his left side. The left side that had no gunpowder whatsoever. Forensics will never be perfect, counselor. Sometimes we miss things. Sometimes you take a walk through the rain, and when you finally get to where you were going, you somehow end up dry. But that doesn't mean it didn't rain. All of which is to say, before judge or jury, photographic evidence outweighs a failed sniff test. Carlos is innocent. I know he is. That photo shows a left-handed shooter. Carlos is innocent. That photo is real. If both are true, then that means that photo doesn't show what it appears to show. So, at a loss for words? Never. I'm just confused about one thing. Where was this photo taken from exactly? Exactly? Positional data is usually only accurate to the nearest public router. If we DN on the phone's owner and ask them where, why bother with any of that? Ballistics and common sense tells us that perp shot from the room's doorway. The front entrance of the apartment faces to the south. There's a hallway that runs back to the bedroom. We're looking straight at the shooter, so it's pretty obvious that this was taken from across the north window. From the north? If this is from the north, then why can't we clearly see the... It's not that complicated. The neighbor who got the shot must live on the other side of the street. So we're looking into the bedroom from the north window. If she's wrong, I should seize on the opportunity to start turning the tide. Right, from the north. No, because that would mean... Something the matter, counselor? Sorry, just think things through. Right. So law school was mostly take-home tests, I'm guessing? Now's not the time for hesitation. I need to speak up and take back the momentum. This photo can't have been taken from the north. What are you talking about? The good detectives are misinformed here. I need to take advantage of it. Time to press the initiative. The hell do you mean this was taken from the west? The autopsy tells us that the victim was shot from the doorway. Your officer's ARCS data tells us the precise location of everything in the room at the time they arrived. And now your photo has shown us the exact moment of the shooting. And... altogether, that tells us that this photo must have been taken through the west window, as long as you consider just take one look at the clock in that photo. The clock? What about it? Clock, huh? Seems like London's got an idea. If he's mistaken, I could pounce on it to keep my tempo high. This photo was taken right before the shooting, so... Wait, don't tell me the time of the death is wrong. It's a good question, Detective London. But the answer is no. The autopsy of the clock, the neighbors all agreed the time of death was 9 p.m. Right, no mistaking that. So then what the hell are you on about? There's a clock on the wall in this photo, analog style, and it reads 9 o'clock. 9 p.m., the time of the shooting. What the hell's so special about that? Nothing. There's nothing odd about the time the clock reads, but do you remember there being a clock in the room? What? Actually, I don't recall there being a clock. That makes sense. You wouldn't recall seeing a clock, because when the police secured the scene, the clock had already been knocked onto the floor. And the only clock in that room is in the northeastern corner. My client has informed me that before the crime, it was hung up on the eastern wall. Like so. What the hell is that supposed to be? An artistic rendition. It's very distinct. If you had information on how the crime scene was before the shooting, why didn't you just add that to the arcs? And show you my hand? Just because discovery law compares us to share info doesn't mean we have to play fair, detective. Slip my mind. I'll do that now. The important thing is that if the clock was on the eastern wall before the shooting occurred, then this photo must be looking through the western window to see it. Don't start getting ahead of yourself. The victim was shot at 9. The same time this photo was taken of the shooter. But you want to claim that the clock's still on the eastern wall when it would have been knocked down during the fighting. You got your logic backwards, detective. Your precious photo shows that the room was pristine at the time of the shooting. There's one other piece of evidence that proves exactly how the cards fell. The debris by the western window. Yeah, it was smashed up way earlier in the morning. What does that got to do with anything at this point? Very little, actually. Take another look at the base from the crime scene. Cheap, durable, and damn near spotless, so what? Not like there's a timestamp showing us what... God damn it. Glass shards, what about them? Only that they're on top of the victim's body. And not under it. If the glass fell on top of the victim's body, that would mean that she was dead on the ground before the room got trashed. That doesn't make any sense. Why would anyone trash the room afterwards? It's a good question, Carlos. Luckily, it's the detectives who have to delve into the minds of the criminally insane, not us. Tell me, detectives. Shit. Tell me, detectives, were there any signs of a struggle at the other crime scenes? Other crime scenes? No, nothing like that. Those attacks would have been over in a matter of seconds. So what did you think when you saw the mess in the bedroom? That this was personal and things had gotten complicated. Shit happens. Shit does happen, detective. But in this case, it seems there have been a good general misconception about the order in which shit had happened. So what if the room didn't get tossed over until afterwards? He still shot her. And we have a photo right here. I'm glad you do, detective, because that photo proves my client's innocence. Huh. Proving that it wasn't my client who pulled the trigger is difficult, and maybe more importantly for all of us, time-consuming. Thanks to your photo, I can instead prove that it couldn't have been my client who pulled the trigger. Because the man in that photo can't possibly be Carlos. Like hell it can't. Glass shards prove that the room was pristine at the time of the shooting. And we know that until the room was tossed, that the clock was on the eastern wall, which means that this photo of the shooter was taken from the west. Back to this shit. It's impossible. The only hallway in that apartment runs north to south. The only person with prints on that gun is your client. And the only fact of the matter is that he used it to murder 6 innocent people. You're a very honest person, detective. Excuse me? That's why you're such a shitty gambler. You've played your cards too early, and now I can steal the pot from right under you. You're right about the hallway's orientation, you're right about the prints. And this HK figure has claimed 6 lives. But we aren't looking at the hallway in that photo. What? What we're seeing is... Optics was down at the time, counselor. You're not gonna try and convince us this is a graph error, are you? I was, apparently. The victim? Now that's just sad. She wasn't wearing gloves for starters, and she had even held... God damn it. What is that? You trying the glass shards again? Sort of. By the way. Shit. By the way, do you recall where those glass shards came from? Yeah, sure, they came from a standing mirror. A mirror that at the time of the shooting stood across the room from the western window. But then that would mean, at that angle, from that viewpoint, it would reflect the hallway. So we're not seeing a shooter with a gun in their left hand. We're seeing a killer take aim with their right arm. As we all know, my client has had a working right arm in a number of weeks, and he hasn't worn his rental since this morning. So, I meant what I said about that photo. I'm glad that it was recovered, because it just proved that my client couldn't possibly have committed this crime. That should be the end of it. Except it looks like Detective Reyes really is a novice gambler. Sunk cost has got its teeth in her now, clawing up her spine, whispering wounded pride in her ear. It's a cold sweat, hot palms kind of fever, the impotent, irrational fury of losing something you thought was guaranteed yours. But lucky for you, Detective, I'm well versed in shock therapy. You look dissatisfied, Detective Reyes. That's one word for it. Allow me to put a nice bow on everything for you. In summary, my client's so-called confession was just another note to self. The police found him in shock, reeling at the death of his girlfriend, and arrested him for being next to a gun he forensically couldn't have fired. And after being confronted with these facts, you received photographic evidence of the exact moment of the shooting. And instead of utilizing said photo to track down the real killer, you tried to claim it depicted my client. A man without the requisite limb, standing in an architecturally impossible hallway. He could have had a backup on. He could have stole one. A little stubbornness can be charming, but this kind of desperation is ugly. It's getting late. Time to bare my fangs. A bit. That's the best you've got? Even a bare bones prosthetic off the black market needs to be attuned to an individual's nervous system. He'd have to bring it to a clinic, which would have left a record of his shoulder arrest, a record you won't find, and he'd still have to somehow have gotten rid of it before the police arrived. SOP at the scene of a violent crime calls for full spectrum scanning of the entire building and 100 meters around at minimum. So where, Detective Braze, did he manage to hide a cybernetic arm from your drones in the time between the shooting and his arrest? Well? Any objections? Detective? God damn it. Show me your hand, Flat. You're uncuffing me? In light of evidence, we have no reason to hold you. Now I gotta go call the DA. Tell her I made a mistake. Not we made a mistake, huh? Listen, kid, you should know. Detective? Lost my train of thought. But hey, your attorney's a real tiger and she just fought like hell for you. Make sure you thank her properly. Public defense doesn't pay that well. Yeah. That's kind of you to say, Detective. But my work is its own reward. Heh, sure. Feel exactly the same, counselor. What happens now? I have to speak with the DA about the dismissal, and there's still some paperwork we'll need to go through. But basically, you're free to go. Congrats, you get to leave the casino with your kneecaps intact. Yay? What do I do? What am I supposed to do? The detectives will continue their investigation. Their investigation into heartbreak, huh? Yes. When the authorities are satisfied with their examination of the body, she'll be handed over to the next of kin, and then you can make funeral arrangements. No, that's not what Dying being gone is bad enough. But a serial killer? It's like she died of the flu. It doesn't happen anymore. People die of the flu all the time, but I know what you mean. I can't make sense of it. So what am I supposed to do? Hell if I know. There are some contacts I should give you. Services, professionals, doctors. No, you've done more than enough for me. When you got here, I was too tired to even defend myself, to try and convince them that I didn't. You saved me. Thank you. You're welcome, Carlos, but it's my job too. No, I mean, thank you for not asking. For not asking if I killed her. Oh, Carlos. I didn't need to ask. I knew you were innocent from the start. Of course he was. After all. The blood's always different. Heart's always in the same place. Easy to find, hard to miss. But the blood's always different. Flowering stain unfurling toward an invisible sun. Perfectly unique bloom. Only one for each of us. A Rorschach test with a singular universal meaning. Vitality at its climax. Bursting forth into a red fractal consisting solely of the infinite, the end. But the comical thud of a body hidden on the floor has its own kind of lowbrow appeal. 8:59, June 4th, 2086. Bullet number 6 of 6. Gun's empty. It's useless to me now. May as well leave it. Feels like a waste, but whatever. Finding the ammo was almost enough of a hassle to outweigh the advantages. Could sell an untagged gun for a fair bit of cash, but cash can't buy you peace of mind. Oh, don't look so surprised, lady. Open around here in the dark, must have only been able to see my silhouette. Did she think I was her boyfriend back for an encore of that brawling conversation? Can't ask her now. Hey. Yeah, did you hear that? These old pieces are so goddamn loud. People aren't even filling enough with the sound anymore to know to run the other way. Probably roused half the neighborhood. I didn't see anything I could have used as even a partial suppressor on the way in. Could they really not afford some throw pillars? I used the other 5 bullets in outdoor spaces and small spheres of blind opportunity that the city's eyes couldn't think to pierce. Cramped place is usually full of trash, but this room, as cheap as it looks, is at least clean, organized even. So the corpse has a certain satisfying contrast. Except, there's shit on the floor. By the window there are broken pieces of something fragile and tacky. It's fine. Just one thing out of place. Actually, it's not fine. It's actually really irritating. Kick over the stupid goddamn mirror. 5 perfect crime scenes, each of them, not a speck of evidence, nothing to go on. And for the final shot, there just has to be some big pile of shit in the corner ruining everything. Kick the wall. Something falls from it. Probably more tasteless bullshit. Toss over the chair, knock the urn. Tear into the cheeks with my frustration and try to savor the shredding. If it can't be clean, I'll just have to lean into the messy angle. At least it will be consistent. This was also stupid. Honestly, I'm not the ego-driven type. In fact, I pride myself on humility. Now, was it satisfying when the first 3 went down with single shots? Yes. But so what? I'm not made of stone. After all, I did start to actively aim for the heart, but... Ugh. Heartbreak killer? Really? Will people have anything better to do with their time? What kind of miserable, lifeless voyeurs would obsess over something that's none of their business? All of the threads and breakdowns and goddamn theory crafting. And all for the heartbreak killer. Sounds like a soap opera villain from a season where the writers were on strike. I'd feel insulted by the label, but no, that's someone else's name. They came up with it. They spread it. They marketed it. Heartbreak's got nothing to do with me. He's just some reclusive, lonely, socially impotent loser who shot 6 people because... Well, I'm sure people will come up with something. That he got rejected one too many times or whatever. Me? I killed those people because I saw them and I wanted to. And I've killed a lot more than just 6. At least the room is thoroughly trashed now. If I had just walked away after seeing that mess by the window, it would have irritated me to no end. And now that it doesn't match the MMO of the last 5 perfectly, it will irritate the cops to no end instead. Good riddance, Heartbreak. You enjoy your 15 minutes in the spotlight. Really savor it. I'm going home. The air's weighty tonight. Thick, energized. Heavy, foreshadowed summer rain I can feel in every hair. They call this kind of humidity oppressive, but I disagree. The warm tension on your skin, like in those short moments just after the shower turns off when the steam lingers. Yeah, it's always most comfortable right afterwards. Maybe there's no disagreement to be had. Oppressive things can be comforting too. Only the guilty ones run. I don't know about that, but I know I've never felt guilty about any of this. And I walk. "5 in the morning, June 5th, 2086. Sorry, using my left is still. That's okay. You can just initial in those spots. I took a scenic route from courtesy of our fine city's sprawling public transportation and got in a bit after 11 p.m. Had myself a thorough shower, drank a glass of milk, did some stretching, made sure my phone was on. Time went by evenly. Around 1:40 a.m., a posting for public defender work came up. Decent rate since it was so late and so urgent. I had wagered correctly that the boyfriend would have enough sense to ask for a lawyer and enough debt that he'd need to be provided one. All I had to do was stay awake. There wasn't much competition after 1 in the morning. Okay, what else? Here and here. How did I phrase it earlier? Criminal defense attorneys aren't exactly flush with customers. Why wouldn't I take on a job where I already knew more than the cops? It would have been easy to convince Carlos to plead out. I would have gotten paid the same too. But easy is dangerous. Carlos was, of course, innocent, so his conviction would never be airtight. There would be doubts, questions, appeals. Maybe even fans, depending on his looks. More attention on HK and his crimes, more headaches. A cold case rotting away in the very far back of the public's awareness is always preferable to one open and shut in haste. Now, with no more murders matching HK's MO, there won't be any additional public pressure to find a culprit. Now heartbreak can just starve to death, out of sight and mind like any other fluke in the system. Almost done. Getting involved with the case this intimately does have its risks. Hell, I might have overdone things here or there. Like lighting up smoke inside an interrogation room just to make doubly sure I didn't still smell of gunpowder myself. That London fellow seemed more fixated on it than I would have liked. But obviously everything turned out rosy. And it's worth it for the finality of it all. Seeing the authorities' failings from the best seat in the house? That's just a bonus. Thanks again, Morgan, for everything. I'm sure Diane is grateful too. Funny, I didn't even know her name. Something the matter? No, sorry, it's just... I was mad when I left the apartment. I know she was too. So when she died... Death was instantaneous, Carlos. I can't imagine that she was in any pain. In fact, I can guarantee she was dead before she hit the ground. No, I know, but... I just keep thinking she must have died angry at me. She must have died hating me. To tell you the truth, Carlos, there's something I've been wondering about myself. What is it? Something I noticed in the ARC's data that I didn't quite understand. Piece of the puzzle I couldn't fit in anywhere else. Well, maybe you can make sense of it. What is the... Where did you find that? That pill organizer was found on the victim. She had it grasped in her hand when she died. Obviously, the police added it to the ARCs, but it was quickly ruled irrelevant. Seems like it contained triprexazone, prescribed to help modders with phantom itches. They're small tablets in those tricky class too for a pill organizer. Could be hard to handle with an unsteady hand. No one will ever know what she was feeling when she died. Even if they did, feelings are complicated. You can feel angry, happy, and sad all at the same time. But as far as facts are concerned, it would appear that when she died, what she was doing was setting out your medications for the week. To my eyes, anyway. Long night. That was too far just now. Practically rubbing it in his face. It's not like I care about his feelings. I doubt I'll ever even see him again. But overstepping like that is pure hubris. Hubris invites downfall. So why? Why did I even bother? It was the last piece of the puzzle, I suppose. I'll just need to show more restraint next time. Though there won't be a next time for Heartbreak. The gun's in custody, there's no more bullets left. There won't be a 7th victim, there won't be any more leads to pursue. Media will move on to their next obsession. I'll move on to my next MO. Found you. District Attorney Rockford. Sorry, can I try that again? I'm so fried. By all means. Counselor Morgan. Morning, noon, or night, you're always so put together. I don't get it. How do you sleep at night? Pardon? You do white noise, aromatherapy? Whatever you're doing, I need to steal it. God. I must have bags under my eyes dark enough for the dumpsters. Assistant District Attorney Emma Rockford. She's a prosecutor, a lawyer who argues for the state in court trying to prove a defender's guilt. Despite her sometimes unkempt appearance, she's probably the sharpest person to fill the position in decades. I should know, since I haven't beaten her once. Or she has the remarkable ability to compartmentalize all that adversarial energy and only bring it out in the courtroom. It's a part of what makes her good at her job. And hard for me to read. Should I buy a new mattress? What's that got to do? What have they got you doing at this ungodly hour, Emma? Oh well. Actually, I'm here for you. Me? Your client was a suspect in the Heartbreak killings. That's my case. Well, then you must have been relieved finding out that you won't have to go to trial against me. No? Why would I be worried about going up against you? It's always the unattended barbs with her. So you're working with those detectives? Yeah, London and the new girl. Reyes. They've been reporting to me in preparation for the trial. Preparation for the trial? That seems ambitious. I guess they gave you the rundown? They've been doing everything they can, but it's hard to catch a killer who leaves behind so little. It's hard to kill while leaving so little behind. So Reyes told you they had HK in custody and you popped out of bed all excited to run down here? Told you that they had HK in custody and you popped out of bed all excited to run down here? Hardly. I haven't slept in 40 hours. Too much on my mind. So when I heard about a case with a single female victim shot through the heart, yeah, my ears perked up. But that's about all. Oh? I mean, Carlos Flat, a serial killer. The same serial killer that's outsmarted the state for weeks. She's not using his middle name. He was found with the murder weapon. But I can answer that any number of ways. That may be true, but then I glanced at the report. You glanced at it? No gunpowder residue on him or his clothes. Right. Too remorseful, too apologetic on that note. Whatever it was about. His dominant arm modded. Never could have made the shots that clean. Not without getting close enough to leave scorch marks. Not to mention, he's too tall for the ballistics entry angles. And probably too heavy not to leave imprints. She got all that from a glance. But I'm sure a competent lawyer like yourself pointed all that out the minute you walked in here. Of course. Worst part is, she's not even being sarcastic. Yeah, of course it couldn't have been him. Long-term relationship, physically imposing, argumentative. It's not the type to bottle things up. He didn't match the profile. Profile? Yeah, Right, sorry, you've probably never heard of it. I know what a goddamn profile is. Profile is a reconstruction of criminal psychology based on evidence from their crimes. Kind of fallen out of fashion for the last few decades. Not much need to guess about the why when 99 times out of 100 the who is caught on camera. Or before they even leave the house. I've had to find some real fossils and oddballs to get advice on how to go about it. But I think I'm getting the hang of it. So this profiling, it's some kind of investigative technique? The theory is that a crime can tell you something about the nature of the person who committed it. Stabbing, overkill, points to passion, rage, lust. They probably knew their victim. Poisoning guns, meanwhile, suggest they can't overpower their victims physically. And then there's the things you can assume about nearly all serial offenders. Childhood trauma, proud criminal record, few or no meaningful attachments. There's a lot of recurring themes in their stories. The detectives say HK doesn't leave evidence. So how much can his crimes possibly tell you? That he's diligent, almost perfect, highly intelligent, painstakingly organized, and with enough criminal connections to get his hands on an untagged firearm. It's rare to see her this animated outside the courtroom. It's almost like she's enjoying herself. A sheltered house cat who's picked up on the scent of a mouse for the first time. A lone wolf, educated, but all her playfully lethal instincts coming to life. Probably overqualified or undervalued. Though I'm not thrilled about the fact that in that metaphor I would be the... Know what I mean? Definitely. And considering the marksmanship, the detectives say that HK would have needed insider information on optics. Does that mean heartbreaks in law enforcement? Never in a billion years. Uh-oh. Antisocial, independent, despises authority. That'd be like a stallion applying for a job on a merry-go-round. They'd be kicking kids in the head after the first full rotation. Right, that's exactly how I'd put it. There must be some connection to the police, though. Maybe secondary or tertiary? These types can't help but insert themselves. Insert themselves? I do not. I don't do anything even resembling that. Wait, if HK is not a cop, how'd they know about the blackout timing? Crime meta statistics analysis? Probably. Pardon? Take the emergency response times from across the city and map them out. Look for brief spikes in delay and chart out the dips in... Sorry. Technical, I know. But all the requisite data is publicly available. With a map, a spreadsheet, a calculator, anyone could reverse engineer the timing if they wanted to. That is such an unpleasant thought, Emma. Well, at least his heartbreak maniac will slow down now that he's lost his weapon. He didn't lose it, he just leave it behind. That tells me he's confident he can do just fine without it. No, Salem. No. No. And it just makes me even more certain that these aren't his only kills. Were the other shootings with the same MO? No, not that I found. Other victims that fit the description? No. But I'm not overly focused on the victim's appearance anyway. I mean, these 6 victims all look like each other, but they also look like a lot of people. That's true. Hell, they kind of look like me. Do they? Sure. What, you don't see it? I hadn't thought about it. Salem, please, baby. Fine, come on. Just don't make a mess while you're up here. Point is, no one can kill that cleanly when it's their first time. Getting things that perfect takes practice. So I know that HK must have had a lot more than 6 occasions to practice, Morgan. And that's why I think heartbreak is a misnomer. You got something catchier in mind? I just don't think that shooting them in the heart has any particular significance. If anything, it's a testament to their accuracy and their cold-blooded efficiency. Best possible use of 6 untagged bullets. 6 kills guaranteed, no matter what kind of life support mods they were packing. Their real signature isn't the bullets or the gun, it's the perfection. That's hard to wrap your head around. I'm saying that these 6 murders were just a fluke, a slip-up, a mistake? Exactly, a mistake. They got too clean, too efficient, and now they've got the public's attention. No wonder they're so pissed. Are you talking about the crime scene? Yeah, probably through the detective sort loop, right? Based on what you've said, I don't blame them. Whoever trashed that room doesn't seem like the smooth operator you've been describing. On the contrary, I don't follow. This was the last bullet, their last shot. The other 5 were perfect. So if anything was out of place this time around, it's that they must have thrown one hell of a temper tantrum. Make them sound like a child. Childish. And cowardly. And two-faced. Someone who hates to lose almost as much as they love to win. Your profile will tell you all that? That? No. That part's just takes one to know one. So to summarize, you're looking for a cold-blooded, faceless, perfectionist killer who you think has no persistent MO or victim type in a city with an 8-digit population. Well, good luck. I don't need luck. I only need more information. Well, I'm sure the city would be happy to provide you with more resources. No, Morgan. I mean, I need more crime scenes. Oh. Sad truth is, if Heartbreak walked away today, I'd never catch them. Only way my net narrows is if they keep piling up bodies. Not a fair trade, is it? No, it isn't. But getting screwed over is a given. It's a deal with the devil. Fair enough. Oof. Okay, that rant was pretty morbid and detailed. I need to go out more, or sleep more. Or sleep less, but harder. You think a higher thread count would help? Don't worry about it. I'm always happy to listen to you ramble. It's a lot more pleasant than having to face you in the courtroom. Sorry, but that's the adversarial process. So no hard feelings, yeah? No hard feelings. We're both just doing what we do. I could use a cup of coffee. How about you? Don't tempt me. If you fall asleep face first onto the table, I won't even take a picture. Okay. Just don't expect this to make a difference next time we're at each other's throats. Heartbreak won't claim any more victims. In 2 weeks, the media will have moved on to the next sensation, and the police will have moved on to cases they actually stand a chance of closing. That's what people do. But Emma is different. She'll set it aside and work a dozen other cases, never bringing it up. But a private corner of that frustratingly sharp mind of hers will continue to whittle away at it, never finishing, but never quitting either. So I can't afford to take my eyes off of her. As long as that's the case, I may as well try to enjoy the view. Woo woo! That was good. Get down, Salem. Get down for a minute, baby. Get down. Which means you're going to be living with my friend for a while. For how long? I'm sorry, I don't know. No need to look that upset over it. My face barely moved. May as well have been a blatant pout from where I'm sitting. Yeah, like that. This friend of yours, they're trustworthy? Absolutely. In fact, I trust them more than anyone. Hey, come on. It'll be fun. Really? Really. Educational, too. I think you could stand to learn a lot from someone like Morgan. Okay, okay, cool. You're the smartest person I know, Morgan, when it comes to people. Personally, I think it's cruel to bring someone that flawed into the world. If you're a criminal defense attorney and we're at a crime scene, I think I can guess what happens next. I've never stolen anything that wasn't already compromised. Work hard and the company will have you set for life and after too. Can't tell you how many musicians I've screwed over by a big smile and a fat signing bonus. That's not just a lawyer job thing. You dress like a doorman on the weekends too. Compared to determining fault, determining cause of death is like a brush of fresh air. Company wheels don't stop spinning for anything. We can't hope to keep this quiet for very long. But it's a million times more likely than the alternative, that Heartbreak could ever stop themselves from killing. Father said that you owed him. I don't do anything out of the goodness of my heart. But when I take a job, I never half-ass it. This is awesome. You want to interview me? It's very flattering, but aren't there more lively folks around here for you to question? I'd consider that. So I'm not your first choice. The first one who hasn't walked away. Come to think of it, I should probably. So what are you, 3 sizes? Have you been opening with that? Should I not? Do you have any pets? Afraid not. I need 1 or 2. Or 3 promotions to afford that kind of thing. Are pets that expensive? Only if you care about them. Maybe if I find a place closer to the park. Have you ever owned any automated dependents? Not had the chance. Would you own one if you could? Maybe one of the little vacuum ones. Anything more complicated than that is... If you find the owner's manuals intimidating, there are video-based tutorials I could show you. I'm not worried about the easy use, don't worry. When I say complicated, I mean... It's like what I said about pets. First, find and leave a goldfish in a tiny bowl. Time it takes to swim half a lap, it'll have forgotten what the first half looks like. Not a very tall hierarchy of needs there. Easy to please. But a cat? A dog? I want to be at work thinking about how bored they are sitting at home. And today's ads are a lot smarter than dogs. About most things. It's a very thoughtful perspective to take of London. It's a moot point anyway. I'd need to get hit by a city bus to afford any of the new stuff Noble's selling. No, you're thinking of the sheltered generation. Sheltered as in sheltered upbringing? Or shelter in place. There was a lot of uncertainty during their childhood. So when they grew up, they wanted surety, safety, stability. Wanted to know that their heat would stay on in the winter. And their politics reflected that. But that was all before my time. My generation is a little more, well, Generation Zen. That's what they call us in their think pieces. Even-tempered, mentally strong, and more than a little cynical. You disagree? It wasn't a matter of mindfulness, we just grew up without false expectations. Our vision wasn't clouded with illusions about impossibilities like home ownership or retirement. We realized early on that we'd be working right up until we die. Detective? Unrealistic expectations. Some people call that hope. See your friends, your classmates drowning every day in that kind of mire, and then have to listen to people 3 times your age go on about how enlightened today's youth are. Gen Zen. Not a name I'm particularly fond of. So how long have you been in law enforcement? Too long. How long have you been with the homicide department? Not that long by comparison. Sorry, I don't mean to be overly vague. If you really want to know, I spent the bulk of my career over in arson. Was it different from homicide? Flashier, I'd say. Everyone jokes that homicides solved themselves in a city with this many cameras. Meanwhile, fraud and disinfo are so entrenched in the tech arms race they barely come up for air. But arson? Really hasn't changed that much in the modern era. Fire's still very good at destroying evidence. Can't expect the drone net to sweep into burnt rubble and bring you back out the culprit's fingerprints and driver's license. It's a lot of legwork, a lot of interviewing. Since more than half of the culprits we caught were burners helping Megs commit insurance fraud. We spent a lot of time making friends and enemies in the high-rise corporation boardrooms. Megs? Just slang for mega corporations, which is also just slang. At what size does a corporation become mega? Not really about how gross revenue or how many countries you operate in. If you're big enough to crush people, you're a meg. An apex predator among apex predators. like the odious megalodon of the Miocene epoch. Hey, that's... Wait, is that where that comes from? So why are you working? Why are you working in the homicide department? What's that? Why'd you leave arson? The smoke. The smoke? Just got to a point where I couldn't stand the smell. Bummer. I think that's it for the moment. When I get a little bit of money soon, which is going to be very soon, within the next week, we will come back to episode 1. And that'll be really nice.